So, I want to talk about designing a better saw and how I would go about designing it that vibrates less for better safety issues, better manufacturing, and more. And I'm going to particularly focus on a buzz saw. So, first of all, why do stuff, a lot of the vibrations caused by it hitting different material that's spinning at different speeds, so it slows down and goes faster, it hitting it at different angles, the saw teeth, or just natural one from the person moving it or the motor. How, but we have a lot of ways of reducing vibrations in general. One of the ways is that whenever it hits a circle or something with a circle in it, a lot of the sound waves get redirected. And I do it over here. But they get redirected around the circle or through the circle, depending if it sound travels faster or slower through it. And some of this redirection causes some of the sound to cancel out as it hits each other on the other side. Not only does it cause some of the sound to hit each other on the other side and cancel out, it also, some of the sound naturally goes through here at a little slower rate and cancels out, just right through the circle. And all this mismatches cause it. And when it hits something of a different medium, it also scatters, reducing the sound because the sound becomes less concentrated. Put another circle. And now if we put another circle near it, even more of the sound is redirected in various directions and more likely to interfere with other sound over here. You can use this to really lower the vibrations within the material and even to some extent making material invisible to sound waves as it just passes through with all the interference and ends up on the other side with constructive and destructive interference. That's a whole field called scatter cancellation cloaking, which is way beyond this video to go into a lot of depth. I'm looking at the simpler case of just canceling out. Now if you have a bunch of different sized circles, they manipulate different sound waves differently. So small circles work better for smaller sound waves and sound waves about its size. But bigger sound waves do not interact with them as much, as it is so much bigger than it. And also they scatter it differently, interact differently. So if you have a lot of circles of different sizes, it can really lower the impact of sound. Now, in a buzzsaw is circulating, or it's going around in a circle. It's going around in a circle, so instead of using a circle, a lot of the sound and vibrations are going to travel much more around in a circle, and a lot of the impact and stretches. So you want to stretch it out, kind of like in the shapes I shown here, that look kind of like a beam along the perimeter. And you want to stretch it out more as it goes more into the perimeter, as there the curvature is higher. A circle curves more the smaller the circle is, and you can see it as that you have to take sharper and sharper turns the smaller your radius. This math has to do with how fast the radius changes of a circle from the inside to outside, but can be done pretty easily. The other effect, that would work towards this, and that you would have to calculate, that you could do to manipulate, is make the teeth size differently and have not just one tooth size, but have different tooth sizes, which could cause different vibrations at different frequencies, which can disperse the energy over not having one big frequency that's likely just to build up energy. If stuff is the same frequency, they're more likely to positively interact. You can see that if they're more dispersed, they're less likely. So look at this one. If I have another wave like this, both add up. If I have a wave like this, it's a lot smaller, some of it adds up, some of it doesn't. You can also do it. It also is much more steady because the bigger one becomes less sensitive to big vibrations, one becomes less sensitive to small vibrations, and overall the whole thing becomes less sensitive. There's not a nice thing that oscillates with the material going through. So another effect. Less vibrations, I forgot to mention, also means less heat. So not only is it safer, it's less heat and vibrations also drain a lot of energy. And you can make this whole wheel lighter with less material, theoretically, because your whole thing is stronger, as it has to deal with less vibrations, but you also take out material from where it needs to. You take out material and you keep a lot of the strength. And that could potentially lead to bigger blades or smaller blades. Smaller blades because they're stronger, so you need less material. So you can do more fine things. Bigger ones because you can use less material and still have the same price. The advantage of bigger ones is they can't turn as quickly, but they're more steady themselves. And they can use less power for the same thing. And the reason why bigger blades would use less power is that it's more of a slow change where it cuts it over a longer wedge. You're not splitting it over like 1 centimeter, you're splitting it over meters. And there's also friction, there's less friction. As it's smoother and changes less quickly, it doesn't have to scoop it up and change directions. Very quickly, it changes directions from going this way to this way a lot slower. And also bigger engines are more efficient. But small ones, you can do a lot more tight turns. And also heat dissipates quicker from smaller ones. So you have that going for you. Other things you could do is you could put on the clamps active vibrations lowering, but you could have different settings because you might want to lower the settings for vibration lowering to some extent while you're making turns. Now turns can stop you from making good turns, but they also too much can prevent you because you're just vibrating and you can't take precision, but too little you can't make a turn because it's working against you. But damp loaders, another thing, and you have passive ways where you just have material with like springs and that just damps it by having like a mass that goes back and forth a little slower. It kind of cancels it out a little bit. We use this in skyscrapers nowadays to make them taller so the wind doesn't shake them, and loft bridges. You can have active that actively looks at the vibrations and cancels them out using electronics by shaking it just right. Both of them are tunable because you can tune how much the dampening system works with even a passive one. Another thing you could do to lower vibrations is have the material, have not the blade itself, but the material you have that you're running the block over have vibration dampening abilities. And you can use these same principles here to make it a little more harder and rigid, which is an advantage. Then you can have sound absorbing from here. But this top layer, you do want rigid so you just don't have a lot of friction where you're pushing it against and it's collapsing. Or you don't want to have a lot of friction in, or you don't want to have it get stuck in the machine or snag on it or anything like that. Besides all this, you could even spray it with water or gas and use that to take away some of the material but also turn the whole thing. And when you turn the whole thing and spray it with water, the water acts as a coolant. It would also dampen the vibrations and take off some of the energy. And you could also have dampening controls here that are passive and active beyond the material. Now, could we apply this to other types of saws? Yes, a buzz saw, but you'd have to, a jigsaw, but you have to do the calculation totally different. And there's also a lot of room for optimization with computers because I oversimplify the case and pretend that there's no vibrations due to it just traveling transverse and it's all radial. And we know this transverse ones. You can do a first order approximation by looking at the speed you're pushing material, but you can do more complex approximations with using computers and stuff. But the reason why you want to first do the simple ones is the computers are just trying out a bunch of options and ideas. They're not using an algorithm that gives you the right answer. They're just trying out 5,000 different slight variations of something, and then they take those 5,000 variations, and I'm making up a big number, and then they take those 5,000 variations, and they look at the top best, and they take those top best, and they take those top best and slightly modify them to make better. But the better your starting point, the faster they can find the best one. And they might even skip over the best idea if you don't have a good starting point. Because they might find something called a local minimum. So instead of finding the best one, which is really close to what I've designed here, they found one that's over here with a bunch of trials. Also, you need less computational resources. And my idea compared to the transverse one is more likely to work over a broader range of speeds. On the simulation, you might only try out over a couple different speeds of everything moving together. I hope you found this interesting. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours. The reason why I'm trying to do this is so I can devote more time to this, and also so it gets more widely promoted, and then my quality should go up, but maybe even make some money off the side with this. Also, if any ideas for future videos, comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Goodbye.